Welcome to Sleepy Stories. In this episode, we will take a clear and steady look at why the universe never rushes. The goal tonight is to help you learn while resting, to let calm understanding replace tension and noise. If sleep doesn't come immediately, that is completely fine. You may still drift through the quiet rhythm of scientific truth unfolding slowly, just as the cosmos itself unfolds. Simply listen, let your breathing settle, and allow each idea to arrive in its own time. And if you enjoy resting within knowledge, remember to like and subscribe for future journeys through the unhurried beauty of space and time. When we look into the night sky, we are not seeing motion but memory. The light that reaches your eyes left its source millions or billions of years ago, traveling patiently across darkness that almost defies imagination, yet it never lost its way. Every photon obeyed gravity's guidance, curving through the fabric of space-time until, at this quiet moment, it found you. The universe does not rush, yet its persistence ensures that every destination is reached. This story begins within that patience, a rhythm older than any planet, older than atoms arranged into life. Human life, by contrast, moves through narrow corridors of urgency. We measure success in speed, value quick responses, and tie meaning to deadlines. But when you step back, far back, and compare our tempo with the cosmic one, the illusion becomes clear. Stars take millions of years to form. Galaxies need billions to rotate once. Even light, the fastest thing in existence, still requires time to cross the endless gulf. Nothing, not even energy itself, escapes duration. The universe shows us that motion without haste is possible, that progress can be infinite yet unhurried. If the cosmos were impatient, it could not endure. Too much energy too soon would have destroyed matter before it organized. Hydrogen would never have cooled enough to create stars. Gravity would have torn clusters apart before balance appeared. The very fact that we exist proves that restraint governs creation. The universe's slow tempo is not weakness, it is precision. Each physical law, from the expansion of space to the attraction between particles, acts like a gentle brake, ensuring order. Consider the birth of a single star. A vast cloud of hydrogen drifts for millions of years, gathering under the whisper of gravity. Atoms collide softly, not violently, exchanging energy until the cloud's heart grows warm enough to ignite fusion. When that first light finally appears, it does so quietly, as if the universe exhaled. No explosion, only emergence. Even the rays of light that escape the newborn star travel calmly, crossing space with disciplined persistence. To watch such events is to witness patience itself turned into radiance. And within us, echoes of that same rhythm persist. Our hearts beat slowly compared to thought, but their pace keeps us alive. Our cells divide, repair, and renew on a schedule that cannot be rushed without harm. Every process that sustains life mirrors the tempo of the cosmos, deliberate, measured, enduring. To rest is not to waste time, it is to align with the fundamental cadence of reality. So, tonight, while you listen, imagine time expanding beyond measure. Picture galaxies turning like vast wheels, the spaces between them stretching softly, stars glowing as steady lanterns in a boundless sea. In that immensity, speed loses all meaning. There is only motion balanced by calm, creation balanced by rest. The universe never hurries, and yet everything unfolds exactly when it should. Let that awareness settle through you like gravity itself, gentle, constant, patient. When scientists speak of time in the universe, they do not mean the passing of hours or the ticking of a clock on a wall. They mean something vast, an ocean of duration so deep that even language trembles before it. To understand the patience of the cosmos, we must first understand what cosmic time truly is. It is not a steady drumbeat like the seconds we count. It stretches and bends, slowing near gravity's pull and lengthening across the endless distances of space. Every moment in the universe depends on where it is observed, and in that realization lies the first lesson of slowness. Time itself is relative. Astronomers have learned to measure these incomprehensible ages using light. When we look at a distant galaxy through a telescope, We are seeing it not as it is now, but as it was when the light first began its journey toward us. That journey might have started billions of years ago, before Earth had oceans or air, before any human mind could imagine seeing it. Light travels at nearly 300,000 kilometers per second, yet even at that astonishing speed it requires billions of years to cross the observable universe. This delay is not an imperfection, it is the essence of cosmic patience. To make this scale more graspable, scientists sometimes condense all of cosmic history into a single calendar year. In that version, the Big Bang happens at midnight on January 1st. Stars form in the spring. Galaxies bloom through summer. Our solar system appears only in early September. Life on Earth begins in late November, while recorded human history occupies barely the last few seconds of December 31st. If the universe were a single year old, all of civilization, every story, every dream, would fit into less than a heartbeat before midnight. The calendar shows that rushing belongs to us, not to nature. The strange thing is that the universe does not even feel its own passage. For a photon traveling through space, time effectively stops. It experiences no waiting, no movement, only existence from emission to arrival. Gravity, too, can warp time. Near a black hole, seconds stretch into eternity. A clock placed close to such a massive object would tick more slowly than one far away, proving that time is not constant. It is elastic, flowing differently depending on mass, distance, and energy. Cosmic patience, then, is not a choice. It is the structure of reality itself. When we gaze at the Milky Way, we are witnessing a living photograph from the past. Each pinpoint of light tells a story already finished, yet still traveling through darkness. Some of the stars you see tonight may no longer exist. Their final light continues to arrive long after their fuel has run out. That awareness can be humbling, the realization that we live inside an echo, surrounded by the memories of ancient fires. And still, everything we see seems peaceful. The universe, though ancient, carries itself without hurry, as if aware that time belongs to it alone. Human thought, by comparison, races. We measure progress in seconds, reward acceleration, and panic when waiting feels too long. But the universe has never shared our impatience. It teaches that nothing lasting can be rushed. The fusion of hydrogen into helium in a star's core, the growth of a planet from dust, even the decay of radioactive elements, all unfold according to their own perfect pace. Slowness is not a delay in nature. It is the expression of accuracy. As you listen, allow your mind to stretch across these enormous spans. Imagine billions of years flowing like slow tides. Picture light from galaxies just beginning to reach us, its color shifted slightly toward red as space itself expands. Feel how small human minutes become against such a horizon, and let that awareness ease you. The universe has all the time it needs, and so do you. In the beginning, there was no calm, no silence, no form that could be recognized. What we now call the universe was a concentrated storm of energy, dense beyond imagination, hot beyond measure, and expanding faster than any word like speed can describe. Yet even in this fiery birth, the seeds of patience were already there. As expansion began, the universe's greatest act of creation was not explosive chaos, but gradual cooling. It was the act of slowing down. In those first moments after the Big Bang, energy spread outward as space itself stretched. Temperatures dropped from the unimaginable to the merely extreme, and within fractions of a second, the fundamental particles of matter appeared. Quarks joined to form protons and neutrons. A sea of radiation filled everything, light too energetic to travel freely. The cosmos glowed like a furnace, but beneath that brightness, an invisible order was forming. Gravity began to whisper, drawing the tiniest irregularities together. From the start, creation depended not on force alone, but on equilibrium, the slowing, balancing, and waiting that would allow complexity to emerge. As the expansion continued, the universe grew transparent. Around 380,000 years after the beginning, an instant compared to the ages that would follow, electrons finally settled into stable orbits around atomic nuclei. light was freed. That moment, known as recombination, produced the faint radiation we can still detect today, the cosmic microwave background. It is the oldest light we can see, stretched by time and distance into a gentle glow that fills the sky in every direction. It hums softly through radio antennas and spacecraft instruments, a whisper of that first great calm. What happened next was far quieter than the birth itself. For hundreds of millions of years, the universe entered what scientists call the cosmic dark ages. There were no stars yet, no galaxies, only cooling gas and the patient pull of gravity. Space, though still expanding, began to lose its initial intensity. Hydrogen and helium floated freely, forming immense clouds so vast that our entire galaxy would fit inside them many times over. These clouds did not collide violently. They drifted and gathered at their own unhurried pace, taking millions of years to grow dense enough for the first sparks of light to reappear. It's difficult for the human mind to imagine such time. While we count days, the universe counted eons, but in that patience, all structure was born. Gravity never forced, it coaxed. Temperature never fell abruptly, it faded. Every particle of matter learned its place through balance. This was the first true act of cosmic serenity, the turning of energy into form through slowness. If the early universe had hurried, atoms might never have held together. Too much motion, and hydrogen would have remained a storm of plasma forever. Too much pressure, and matter would have collapsed before stars could ignite. Instead, the balance was perfect. The rate of expansion slowed just enough for gravity to weave threads of structure without tearing the fabric of space apart. It is this delicate equilibrium, the universe's refusal to rush, that allowed galaxies, planets, and eventually life to exist at all. Tonight, as you picture those early ages, imagine that glow receding into distance and time. The light you see in the sky now is its descendant, stretched and softened, still moving outward across the quiet. The cooling of the cosmos continues even now, a slow exhale billions of years long. And if you listen closely, within your own breathing, you might sense a smaller reflection of that same rhythm, energy expanding, then settling, then renewing. The universe began with motion, but it was patience that gave it shape. After the fierce brightness of the beginning came a silence that stretched across hundreds of millions of years. The universe, still expanding, had cooled enough for atoms to form, but not yet enough for light to return. This was the long night before the first dawn, a span of time so immense and tranquil that, if it could be heard, it would sound like a slow, steady breath drawn by creation itself. Nothing seemed to happen, and yet everything was preparing. In this age of darkness, the cosmos was filled with immense clouds of hydrogen and helium, the simplest elements. They drifted through space as faint, invisible vapors, thin as thought, each atom separated by enormous distances. But gravity was patient. It pulled gently, tugging at these clouds, encouraging them to gather, to thicken. The pull was imperceptible, yet over millions of years, these regions grew denser. Tiny fluctuations in density, mere whispers of imbalance, began to amplify. Where there was slightly more matter, gravity drew in more still. It was the beginning of structure, the slow shaping of the cosmic landscape. If we could have watched, we would not have seen explosions or sudden flashes of color. We would have seen shadow upon shadow, dark clouds swirling in deeper darkness. The process was almost still, a slow spiral of attraction and compression. Within those regions, the gas warmed. Pressure grew silently until, after countless generations of gathering, the temperature at the core of one such cloud rose high enough for hydrogen atoms to fuse. That single moment, the first spark of nuclear fusion, marked the end of the universe's long sleep. The first stars were enormous, far larger than our sun, and their lives were short compared to the eons that preceded them. But their birth was not dramatic. It was inevitable. Gravity had waited long enough. The pressure in their cores rose slowly, and fusion began as if the universe had taken a careful breath before lighting its first candle. The darkness ended not with a bang, but with a quiet shimmer spreading across the void. When these first stars ignited, they did more than bring light. They began the transformation of simplicity into complexity. Until that moment, the universe contained only hydrogen and helium, the two most basic building blocks. Within the hearts of those stars, heavier elements were born. Carbon, oxygen, and iron formed through the patient alchemy of fusion, one reaction at a time. This process was slow and deliberate, unfolding over millions of years before those stars finally exhausted their fuel. Their deaths were more dramatic than their births. When their cores could no longer sustain fusion, they collapsed inward and exploded outward in titanic supernovae, scattering the newly forged elements into space. These explosions seeded the cosmos with the ingredients for everything to come, for planets, oceans, and eventually, for life. Even in death, the stars did not hurry. The shock waves traveled for thousands of years, sweeping matter into new clouds that would one day form other stars. It's astonishing to think that every atom in your body, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen in your lungs, was created in one of those ancient furnaces. The slowness of their burning, the patience of their collapse, the vast pauses between their births and deaths, all of it combined to make the materials that would eventually assemble into you. Every breath you take is connected to the rhythm of those first flames. The universe's first dawn did not happen all at once. It spread gradually, like embers glowing across an endless night. Galaxies began to form where groups of stars gathered, drawn together by gravity's quiet persistence. Light, after waiting so long, finally filled the void, but it arrived softly, spreading over hundreds of millions of years. In that gradual illumination lay the universe's first lesson in endurance. Even brilliance requires time. So as you listen, imagine the darkness lifting, not in haste but in rhythm. See the first stars flicker across the cosmic horizon, each one a note in a long, unhurried symphony. The silence of the early universe was not emptiness. It was patience, preparing for light. The first stars that formed from those ancient clouds were unlike any that exist today. They were giants, vast, hot, and luminous beyond imagination. Some were hundreds of times the mass of our sun, their light fierce and blue-white, their lives astonishingly brief, yet within their brilliance, the slow work of creation was unfolding. For though they burned quickly, the processes that gave them shape had taken eons to prepare. Their lives were the product of patience, not haste. Inside these enormous spheres of plasma, the universe's first true transformation began. Hydrogen atoms fused into helium, releasing torrents of energy that poured outward as light. This fusion was the engine of the cosmos, the quiet mechanism through which simplicity became structure, but the work went deeper still. Within those stellar hearts, fusion continued, slowly forging heavier elements, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, and iron, the seeds from which all future matter would grow. Each atom was built not by violence but by balance, gravity pressing inward, radiation pushing outward. Every flicker of light that reached across the early heavens came from that delicate equilibrium. If the stars had burned too hot, they would have torn themselves apart before any elements could form. If they had burned too cold, fusion would have halted, and the light would have dimmed. Instead, they held themselves in perfect tension, existing long enough to craft the building blocks of galaxies, planets, and life. In their slow, steady brilliance, they embodied the universe's patient logic, the understanding that endurance, not speed, creates lasting change. Far across the young cosmos, those stars shone in isolation. There were no constellations, no galaxies yet, only scattered clusters of light suspended in endless darkness. Each star illuminated a small region of space, its glow stretching for millions of light years. To watch from afar would have been to witness the first true dawn, not a sudden blaze, but countless individual lights slowly weaving a tapestry of radiance. The cosmos had waited hundreds of millions of years for this moment, and when it came, it unfolded with quiet dignity. When these great stars reached the end of their fuel, gravity reclaimed its hold. Their cores collapsed in on themselves, triggering explosions so powerful they briefly outshone entire galaxies. These supernovae were not chaotic endings, but acts of renewal. The shockwaves swept through the surrounding gas, stirring new clouds of material, spreading the heavy elements that would one day form worlds and living things. Out of destruction came abundance. The universe was learning how to create complexity through cycles of birth and death, expansion and rest. Over time, these first explosions enriched space with dust and metals, transforming the thin, simple hydrogen of the early cosmos into something fertile. Future generations of stars would be smaller, steadier, and longer-lived, because of what these first giants had given. Even the quiet warmth of our own sun traces its lineage back to them. Every planet that circles a star today carries within it the ashes of those ancient giants, the calcium in our bones, the iron in our blood, the oxygen that fills our lungs, all born in their luminous hearts. It is humbling to realize that such power, such grandeur, served a purpose that required patience. These stars did not rush toward brilliance. They arrived only when gravity, temperature, and time reached perfect harmony. Their brief lives, a few million years in a universe that counts in billions, were still long enough to begin everything we now know. In their endurance and their restraint, they taught the cosmos its rhythm, energy and stillness, fire and calm, creation and rest. Now imagine yourself in that early sky. The light of the first stars stretches across the darkness like a whisper of promise, faint but persistent. It is not a storm of light but a slow awakening, the universe opening its eyes for the first time. Those stars will fade, their brilliance swallowed by time, but the legacy of their patience will remain forever. The elements they made will drift and gather, waiting for their next role in the grand cycle of existence. Nothing is wasted, nothing is hurried. The universe continues its quiet work, teaching through light that even the briefest lives, when lived in balance, can illuminate eternity. After the brilliance of the first stars faded, the cosmos entered another long pause. Their explosions had filled space with dust and metals, the raw materials for new creation, but the universe was once again quiet. Clouds of enriched gas drifted through the expanding darkness, cooling and combining into gentle waves and filaments. This was a period of rest, the calm between generations of light, and in that silence, the cosmos prepared itself to begin again. The cycle of birth and renewal that defines everything had begun its rhythm. From the ashes of those first giants, new clouds formed, denser than before. Gravity, patient as ever, gathered them slowly. Over tens of millions of years, matter pooled into knots that would become galaxies, great islands of stars bound by invisible threads. Some were small and irregular, others vast spirals with luminous cores. Their creation was not sudden. It was the result of countless subtle movements, each atom obeying the same quiet law of attraction that has guided the universe since its beginning. If you could watch it unfold, it would not look like motion at all. The galaxy's slow formation would appear frozen in time, their arms taking shape so gradually that no single lifetime, no single civilization, could ever witness their change. But given enough time, the clusters of light would bloom like flowers in slow motion. The universe was building structure through patience, drawing beauty from rest. And rest, after all, is essential to everything. Just as the cosmos pauses between bursts of creation, we, too, require stillness to renew. The calm between the generations of stars mirrors the calm between our breaths. When you lie still and drift towards sleep, your body does not stop. It reorganizes, heals, and balances itself. Energy becomes ordered through rest. The same is true on the grandest scales imaginable. During the universe's quiet intervals, gravity reorganized matter, temperature stabilized, and the foundations for new galaxies emerged. Creation and sleep are not opposites, they are partners in endurance. In that long cosmic pause, hydrogen and helium mingled with carbon and oxygen, forming molecules more complex than before. Dust grains collided softly, clumping into larger fragments, the precursors to new worlds. Magnetic fields threaded through the gas, guiding its motion, while dark matter, unseen yet vital, wove an invisible framework that held everything together. It was the universe's way of gathering strength, just as rest restores life. Imagine this silence not as emptiness, but as balance. There was no urgency, no wasted motion. Stars had lived, burned, and died, and now their remains were suspended like seeds on a still breeze. Over millions of years, those seeds found places to settle, to grow, to shine again. The galaxies that would one day fill the heavens were slowly assembling from these quiet beginnings. Nothing in nature is truly still, yet its slowest moments are when the most meaningful changes occur. As you rest now, you share that same rhythm, the space between your heartbeats, the gentle pause in your breathing. These are moments of cosmic alignment. The body, like the universe, knows when to move and when to be still. If you feel the weight of time, let it soften. You are part of a system that has always known how to recover, how to gather, how to wait. Eventually, the calm began to give way to motion once more. Gas swirled inward toward the centers of forming galaxies, spinning faster as gravity tightened its pull. The first great spirals took shape, their stars orbiting in slow, graceful paths that would last for billions of years. The universe's long rest had done its work. It had given the next generation of light the time it needed to be born. And so the cosmos continued, unhurried, carrying forward the lesson written in its own structure, that creation without pause cannot endure, and that rest, in stars, in life, in thought, is what makes renewal possible. From the quiet calm that followed the first great generation of stars, form began to emerge. Gravity, the universe's most patient artist, began to draw light and matter into sweeping designs. Over billions of years, tiny star clusters merged, collided, and reformed until vast galaxies appeared, immense gatherings of light, dust, and dark matter bound together in a slow, endless dance. The chaos of the early cosmos began to find structure, its movements guided by laws so steady they seemed like music measured in eons. Each galaxy that took shape carried its own unique rhythm. Some grew into great spirals, their arms unfurling gently through space like cosmic seashells. Others became smooth elliptical clouds of stars, glowing softly without distinct form. A few remained small and irregular, drifting between the giants like solitary wanderers. All of them moved together, connected by invisible filaments of gravity that stretched across the universe like threads in a vast, unseen web. Where those threads crossed, galaxies clustered. Where the web was thin, there was only quiet darkness. From afar, this great structure would look frozen, unchanged, yet everything within it was in motion. A single rotation of a spiral galaxy could take hundreds of millions of years, and yet it moved with perfect coordination. Stars traveled in circular paths, drawn by gravity's steady pull toward the glowing heart at the center. There, in most galaxies, supermassive black holes grew, not as monsters devouring light, but as anchors of balance. Their gravity kept the dance intact, ensuring that the stars neither drifted away nor fell inward too soon. The Milky Way, the galaxy we call home, began this way. It formed from the merging of smaller systems, each collision shaping its elegant spiral arms. But even the word collision can be misleading. Galaxies do not crash together as we might imagine. They pass through one another almost silently, their stars so far apart that few ever touch. The interactions unfold over billions of years, a slow choreography where gravity weaves together what once was separate. Out of seeming chaos comes harmony, built not by force, but by time. The arms of a spiral galaxy are not solid structures. They are waves, moving regions of density that travel through the disk, gathering gas and forming stars as they go. In those luminous spirals, the balance of creation and rest repeats endlessly. New stars ignite where clouds are compressed, while old stars drift away, cooling quietly. The pattern persists because nothing in the cosmos hurries. Every rotation, every orbit, every cycle of birth and decay takes place at the right pace. To look at a galaxy is to see patience given shape. Every curve of light you might glimpse through a telescope is the product of uncountable orbits and gravitational negotiations. And though a single galaxy may contain hundreds of billions of stars, none of them move without harmony. Their orbits balance one another in a quiet system of exchange, motion meeting stillness in perfect proportion. On smaller scales, this same rhythm continues. Within the spiral arms, clouds of gas collapse slowly, forming new suns. Around those suns, disks of dust begin to spin, flattening into the beginnings of planets. The whole process, from the gathering of galaxies to the shaping of worlds, is one seamless continuum of patience. The universe does not build in haste, it sculpts through repetition, through cycles of creation that flow like tides. When you gaze at the night sky, you are seeing only the faintest glimpse of this grand pattern. The Milky Way's light arches overhead, but what you see in a single glance represents billions of years of gradual formation. It is easy to think of the stars as fixed, yet every one of them is moving, orbiting silently through the arms of the galaxy. Even now, our solar system travels at nearly 1,000,000 kilometers per hour around the galactic center, and still, it feels like rest. Speed in such vastness becomes serenity. So, as you listen, imagine the great spirals turning through space, their arms of light sweeping slowly across eternity. Imagine billions of suns orbiting in harmony, guided by gravity's gentle touch. The universe is not racing toward an end, it is gliding through balance, creating order not through urgency, but through time itself. Inside every star, far beneath its glowing surface, there burns a process so steady and controlled that it could be mistaken for stillness. This is fusion, the slow fire that powers the universe. Unlike a flame that consumes, fusion sustains. Deep in the core, under immense pressure, hydrogen atoms move so closely together that they merge to form helium. In that act, a small fraction of their mass is converted into energy, released as light and heat. It is the quiet heartbeat of creation, steady and precise, continuing unchanged for millions or even billions of years. The idea of such patience is difficult for the human mind to hold. We think of fire as something fast, hungry, and fleeting, but the light that warms the worlds of the cosmos is nothing like that. In the heart of a star, conditions are held in perfect balance. Gravity pushes inward, pressing matter tighter, while the energy from fusion pushes outward, holding collapse at bay. The two forces are equal, neither overpowering the other. This tension, invisible, perfect, unending, is what keeps a star alive. Our Sun is one of the smaller and quieter members of this great family of stars. It has been burning gently for over 4.5 billion years and will continue to do so for billions more. Its surface roils and flickers, but deep inside, fusion proceeds with exquisite calm. Every second, the Sun converts about 600 million tons of hydrogen into helium, yet even at that rate, it has only used a small portion of its fuel. The energy it releases radiates outward through layers of plasma, scattering and bouncing for tens of thousands of years before it reaches the surface. Only then does it escape into space, a long, patient journey from the heart of a star to the edge of the solar system. Every ray of sunlight that touches Earth is a message from the past, born deep within the Sun long before any human existed to feel it. That light crosses 150 million kilometers in just over 8 minutes, but its creation took thousands of centuries. By the time it arrives here, its energy has transformed countless times, from nuclear reaction to heat to photons to the golden warmth that makes life possible. Nothing in that process happens suddenly. Each stage is part of a chain of equilibrium, the quiet transfer of energy that powers everything we know. Other stars follow the same laws. The small red dwarfs, which make up most of the stars in the universe, burn their fuel with astonishing restraint. Their fires are dim and cool compared to the Sun's, but they are steady. While the giant blue stars live for only a few million years, a red dwarf can last for trillions, its slow fusion stretching into timescales beyond comprehension. These faint suns are the universe's keepers of endurance, patient, persistent, nearly eternal. Their quiet light will be the last to shine when all others fade. Fusion is not only the engine of light, it is the source of all material transformation. Inside stars, atoms are built and rebuilt in ordered steps. The carbon in our breath, the calcium in our bones, and the gold in a wedding ring were all shaped through the slow fusion of heavier and heavier elements, layer by layer, in long sequences of time. Every atom of substance around us once existed in the core of a star, waiting for gravity and temperature to align perfectly. In this way, fusion connects everything. It is both the act of change and the act of preservation. There is something profoundly peaceful about knowing that all creation rests on a balance between pressure and release, between gravity's embrace and light's escape. The universe is never truly still, but it is never chaotic either. It sustains itself through rhythm, through slow transformation, through the patience of stars. When you look at the night sky, you are witnessing not burning but endurance, not destruction but harmony. If you allow yourself to feel that balance, it becomes familiar. Within your chest, the steady rhythm of your heartbeat echoes the same principle. Energy flows, but nothing is rushed. Pressure builds, but it finds its balance. The slow fire of the stars is the same calm that sustains life here. Across scales of size and time, from the cell to the galaxy, the lesson remains the same. Nothing truly beautiful is ever hurried. When a star is born, it never arrives alone. Around its forming light, a wide, thin disk of dust and gas begins to swirl, the leftover debris from the cloud that collapsed to make it. This disk is the nursery of worlds, and though it appears delicate, it contains the substance from which planets, moons, and asteroids will one day emerge. Gravity, rotation, and time combine to shape this chaos into order, turning scattered particles into orbits and orbits into systems. It is one of the universe's most intricate dances, and like all cosmic creations, it unfolds with infinite patience. In those early stages, the disk is turbulent. Microscopic grains of rock and ice drift through it, colliding softly, sticking together through electrostatic attraction. The first clusters are no larger than dust motes, yet they continue to merge, forming pebbles, then stones, then boulders. The process is slow, unimaginably slow, taking millions of years before these small bodies grow large enough to attract others through gravity. Once that happens, they become planetesimals, embryonic worlds, colliding and combining in a quiet storm of creation. Each impact is both destruction and renewal. Collisions shatter, melt, and reassemble matter into new forms. Over time, a few of these bodies grow large enough to dominate their surroundings, sweeping smaller fragments into their orbit. They become protoplanets, rough, uneven spheres slowly clearing their paths through the dust. Around some of them, smaller disks form, leading eventually to moons. Around others, gases are trapped, building thick atmospheres. Every feature, every layer, every orbit is the product of countless small encounters guided by balance and gravity. The same star that anchors the system provides both light and discipline. Its radiation exerts pressure on the disk, pushing lighter gases outward and leaving heavier materials near the center. This gentle sorting determines the architecture of entire solar systems. In the inner regions, where heat is fierce, rocky planets take shape. Farther out, where it is cooler, the giants of gas and ice begin to form. The laws of physics sculpt worlds through patience alone. In our own solar system, this story unfolded more than 4.5 billion years ago. The sun had just ignited, and its surrounding disk glowed with scattered heat and light. Within that haze, Earth began as one of countless molten bodies orbiting the young star. For tens of millions of years, it collided with others, absorbing some, losing fragments to space, until it settled into its current size. Even then, it was not finished. A final massive impact, with a world perhaps the size of Mars, sent debris into orbit, and from that debris, the Moon was born. This entire sequence was not an accident of chaos, but the predictable outcome of time, gravity, and restraint. To imagine it now is to see motion so slow that it appears still. The accretion of planets happens grain by grain, moment by moment, but over epochs it transforms emptiness into architecture. What once was dust becomes mountains, oceans, and atmospheres. The time required defies comprehension, yet the method is elegant: attraction, collision, rest. The universe works not through haste, but through persistence. Even now, this process continues. Around distant stars, astronomers have observed new disk forming, glowing rings of gas and dust, with gaps where planets are already shaping the material around them. Telescopes capture these young systems mid-creation, revealing what our own once looked like. To see them is to witness time in its purest form, the visible patience of gravity turning chaos into harmony. If you close your eyes for a moment, you can picture it, a single star surrounded by a faint golden mist, tiny particles drifting through its light. Over eons, that dust will become solid ground, will bear oceans, will nurture life. The process asks for nothing but time. In the rhythm of that thought lies something soothing. Just as the universe turns dust into worlds, so too does your own body, in sleep, gather and restore itself grain by grain. Creation, at every level, depends on allowing things to unfold slowly. When at last the planets are formed and the surrounding dust clears, a solar system reveals itself, graceful, ordered, and quiet. Each world moves in its own orbit, balanced by the pull of the star at its center. There is no haste, no noise, no race, only rhythm. The same rhythm that began when the first atoms met after the Big Bang continues still, flowing through galaxies, through stars, through you. When our planet first formed from the swirling debris around the newborn sun, it was anything but calm. It was a sphere of molten rock, glowing red-hot, its surface churning like liquid metal. Volcanoes tore through its crustless shell, releasing gases that thickened the air, while asteroids and comets rained down in constant bombardment. The young Earth was still gathering its shape, still cooling from its birth, and every impact added both energy and new material. To look at it then would be to see fire where water would one day flow, a restless, unfinished world, learning how to settle into balance. Yet even amid this violence, the slow work of equilibrium had already begun. Heat radiated into space. The heavy elements, iron and nickel, sank toward the planet's core, while lighter silicates floated upward to form the mantle and crust. Gravity sorted everything by density, creating the structure that still defines Earth today. It was an act of refinement, carried out by time alone, not by sudden change. Cooling took millions of years, but patience was the architect. Each passing moment brought a fraction more stability, a fraction less chaos. Above this molten landscape, a thick atmosphere began to form. At first, it was a poisonous mix of carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and water vapor. No air to breathe, only the remnants of volcanic breath. But those same gases, trapped by gravity, kept the surface from freezing completely. As the heat escaped into the blackness of space, clouds condensed, and rain began to fall for the first time. It did not pour gently, but for thousands of years without pause, filling craters and basins, carving channels into cooling stone. The oceans were born not from a single moment, but from countless drops of water accumulating over endless time. Each raindrop carried the memory of the sky that made it. Each stream that formed found its path through trial and erosion, guided by gravity's subtle patience. The earliest oceans were likely dark and hot, their surfaces steaming beneath a sky of heavy clouds. Lightning flashed above them, igniting chemical reactions that would later make life possible. Even then, the elements were learning to cooperate. Carbon met oxygen, hydrogen met nitrogen, and in the quiet after each storm, new molecules formed. The foundations for biology were being laid while the planet still trembled with volcanic breath. The continents, too, were slow to appear. The first land masses rose as the crust thickened and cooled, only to be swallowed again by the mantle and remade. This endless cycle of rising and sinking, of destruction and renewal, continued for hundreds of millions of years. In that time, the crust hardened enough to support mountains, then eroded them back into dust. The landscapes we know today are the descendants of those ancient motions, shaped by persistence rather than speed. From space, Earth would have glowed softly, a faint blue world wrapped in haze, its surface hidden beneath clouds and vapor. Nothing on it yet resembled life, yet everything necessary for life was taking shape. The planet was practicing the same patience that governs the stars, exchanging heat for stability, turmoil for rhythm. The fire of creation was giving way to endurance. And within that endurance, a new balance began to emerge. The atmosphere cooled enough for sunlight to reach the surface. The oceans grew clear and deep. Beneath the waves, minerals dissolved and reacted, forming complex chemical soups that would one day give rise to cells. The world was no longer a storm, it was an invitation. Each layer of rock, each molecule of water, was a promise that time had kept. If you listen closely to the rhythm of your own body, you can feel a reflection of this slow transformation. Just as Earth released its heat and found stability, your own systems balance energy and rest to remain in harmony. The pulse that moves through you is built from the same laws: gravity, temperature, pressure, and time, working quietly to sustain form. When the first light of a calm sunrise broke through that ancient sky, the Earth had finally learned to breathe. The air was still harsh, the oceans restless, but the rhythm had begun, a heartbeat slow enough to last for billions of years. Out of molten chaos came serenity, out of constant change, balance. The planet was ready for the next great chapter in its story, the emergence of life. After Earth had cooled and the oceans had formed, the surface began to change in subtler ways. The storms that once filled the skies grew less violent, the crust thickened, and the seas settled into deep, stable basins. Beneath their surfaces, sunlight filtered through layers of vapor, warming the upper waters just enough to stir chemistry into motion. Here, among dissolved minerals and gases, the first steps toward life began. It did not start with intent or awareness, only with molecules exploring possibility. The oceans of that early world were not blue as they are today. They were dark and rich with iron, their color closer to rust than sapphire. Volcanoes continued to breathe heat and minerals into them, creating underwater vents that hissed with energy. Around these vents, temperatures fluctuated between freezing and boiling, a perfect laboratory for molecular invention. Simple compounds of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen collided, broke apart, and combined again. Each meeting was a tiny experiment, a conversation between elements repeated countless times over millions of years. At first, nothing lasted. Molecules formed and dissolved as quickly as they appeared, but chemistry, given time, learns patterns. Certain combinations proved more stable than others. Some molecules could bind to copies of themselves, forming chains. Others could capture energy from the environment and store it for later use. Slowly, without direction, the sea began to fill with self-organizing systems, the earliest hints of metabolism. In these quiet depths, the border between chemistry and biology blurred, and something extraordinary began to take shape. The first living structures may have been no more than droplets, tiny spheres of molecules floating freely through the ocean, dividing and recombining in endless cycles. Within them, information began to appear, molecules that could store instructions for how to rebuild themselves. These primitive systems competed, adapted, and evolved long before the word life had meaning. There was no rush, no sudden leap forward, only the slow accumulation of complexity. For hundreds of millions of years, the oceans were the stage for this invisible evolution. Every reaction, every adaptation, was built upon waiting for the right temperature, the right concentration of minerals, the right balance of sunlight and shadow. Time was the true catalyst. Where randomness ruled, persistence became purpose. Out of motionless patience, life found a foothold. The earliest fossils we know are not bones or shells, but thin films of carbon left behind by ancient microbial mats. These structures, made of single-celled organisms clinging together for stability, appeared over 3.5 billion years ago. They spread across shallow seas, photosynthesizing sunlight into energy and exhaling oxygen into the atmosphere. Each cell was a miracle of organization, a tiny network of reactions contained by a membrane just strong enough to hold its contents. What began as chemistry had learned the art of continuity. This transition from the inanimate to the living remains one of the most profound mysteries in science. How did matter begin to sense, to replicate, to endure? Perhaps the answer lies not in a sudden spark, but in gradual refinement, an unhurried experiment stretching across eons. The universe did not create life in haste. It simply allowed the conditions for it to arise naturally, guided by balance and time. And that rhythm, once begun, has never stopped. Every living thing today, from the simplest cell to the most complex creature, carries within it the same molecular machinery that began in those dark seas. The DNA inside you is a direct descendant of the molecules that once floated through Earth's first ocean, gathering into patterns through patience alone. It's humbling to imagine that something as immense as life began not with speed but with stillness, not with thunder but with the quiet repetition of chemical chants. The same water that now fills your cells was part of that primordial sea. The same carbon in your body was once part of those early films of life. Everything alive today is a continuation of that first long experiment. So when you breathe, or blink, or rest, you are participating in the same rhythm that began in those ancient tides, a rhythm born from patience, balance, and the enduring truth that even the smallest beginnings can hold the future within them. After life took hold in the oceans, the planet entered a long and tranquil phase, a kind of steady breathing between great transformations. The surface was still active, volcanoes still rose and fell, continents drifted slowly, yet the overall rhythm had softened. The earth had found a balance between fire and water, between creation and renewal. This was the calm between eons, when the foundations of the living world deepened quietly beneath the waves. The first microbes multiplied slowly, shaping their environments in ways invisible but profound. Over vast stretches of time, they learned to harness sunlight through photosynthesis, using energy from the sun to split water and release oxygen. At first, that oxygen had nowhere to go. It reacted with the iron dissolved in the oceans, staining the seabeds with rust-colored minerals that can still be found today. Only after millions of years did the atmosphere itself begin to change. Oxygen accumulated gradually, transforming the sky from hazy orange to pale blue. With this, the air became more transparent, and the light of the sun reached the surface in new clarity. The planet was awakening, but in the gentlest possible way. This long period of transformation is often overlooked because it lacked spectacle. There were no continents as we know them, no forests, no animals, only time and the steady rhythm of invisible work. The earth, like a living organism, seemed to rest while quietly rebuilding itself from within. It was as though the planet had entered a deep and restorative sleep, one that would last for billions of years, allowing its chemistry, atmosphere, and oceans to align. And during that cosmic rest, the groundwork for everything to come was being laid. In this stillness, the lessons of patience became clear. Life did not rush to become complex. For billions of years it remained simple, perfecting what it already was. Cells learning to divide, to repair, to cooperate. Microbial colonies spread across shallow seas, forming structures called stromatolites, layered domes of living material that grew upward slowly, like rock breathing in sunlight. Each layer represented thousands of years of quiet persistence, the biological equivalent of meditation. When you rest, your body performs a similar miracle. While you sleep, it repairs the day's wear, balancing systems too subtle to notice, rebuilding tissue, organizing memory, restoring equilibrium. Sleep is not stillness, it is silent renewal. The Earth's long pause between eons was no different. Beneath apparent quiet, energy flowed, systems matured, and structure took shape. What seemed like dormancy was preparation. The planet's climate also stabilized during this time. The carbon dioxide that once dominated the air dissolved into oceans, locked away in rock and sediment. This natural balance between gas, water, and stone established a self-regulating cycle that would protect life for billions of years to come. The Earth had, in effect, learned to breathe, to exhale through volcanic eruptions, to inhale through oceans and rain. The slow rhythm of this exchange mirrors your own respiration now, a steady in and out, balanced and calm, sustaining both life and rest. It is comforting to realize that the Earth's patience mirrors our own need for recovery. Just as the planet's systems pause to stabilize, so too does every living being require intervals of quiet to regain strength. If you feel yourself slowing down, or if rest finds you now, let it. You are participating in the oldest rhythm there is, the rhythm of cosmic renewal. Eventually, the world began to stir again. The oxygen that life had released began to accumulate faster than the earth could absorb it. The chemistry of the atmosphere changed, forcing life to adapt once more. New species emerged that could use oxygen efficiently, unlocking more energy and paving the way for complexity. But that next wave of transformation was still far in the future. For now, the earth remained in its long, peaceful equilibrium, breathing softly, dreaming in stone and tide. So as you listen and perhaps begin to drift, imagine that ancient world resting beneath a dim sun. Picture the gentle tides washing over early life, carrying whispers of energy across a tranquil sea. The same stillness that held the planet then surrounds you now. The earth knew, even at its beginning, that rest is not the opposite of growth, it is how all growth begins. The long sleep of earth slowly gave way to motion. Once oxygen had transformed the atmosphere, the possibilities for life widened dramatically. Energy flowed more freely, and the quiet seas that had harbored simple microbes began to foster new forms, cells that cooperated, divided tasks, and stored more information within their structures. Evolution had begun its patient work, not through leaps and bursts, but through subtle variations repeated across unimaginable spans of time. In its essence, evolution is the story of time's persistence. It is not progress in a straight line, but a series of endless experiments, guided by environment and chance. Each generation of organisms differs slightly from the last. Those tiny differences, over millions of years, accumulate into change. The eye, the leaf, the wing, none of these appeared in a moment of invention. They were built cell by cell, adaptation by adaptation, shaped by slow response to need and circumstance. The planet itself became a sculptor, using pressure, temperature, and chemistry to guide the work of nature. For 2 billion years, life remained microscopic. Yet even without size or spectacle, those early cells accomplished everything that would come after. They invented collaboration, communities of cells that lived together, supporting one another for survival. Within those networks, specialization began. Some cells focused on movement, others on absorbing nutrients, others on protection. Over time, they formed colonies so intricate that they became something entirely new, multicellular organisms. From there, the possibilities multiplied endlessly. The oceans filled with new experiments, soft-bodied creatures drifting through the currents, algae spreading light harvesting green across the water's surface, early predators learning to sense and respond. Still, the pace remained slow. Entire epochs passed with little visible change. Life had time on its side, and it used that time wisely. The Earth provided constant feedback, its shifting continents and changing climates offering new challenges, new environments, new chances for adaptation. There is something deeply calming in this rhythm of transformation. Every advance in complexity came with equal patience. Evolution never forced progress, it allowed it. Even extinction, when it arrived, served renewal. Species disappeared, but the genetic memory of what worked survived in those that came next. The planet's story became a long chain of learning, stretching from single cells to the intricate web of ecosystems that would one day cover continents. The fossil record reveals this story like pages pressed into stone. Simple impressions of ancient microbes evolve into traces of shells, then bones, then entire skeletons. Each fossil marks not a moment of revolution but a whisper of change, a life lived, a structure refined, a pattern passed forward. Millions of such whispers together become the chorus of life's history. Human beings, when compared against this timescale, are almost instantaneous. The entire history of our species occupies barely a blink in Earth's calendar. Yet we carry within us every lesson written by evolution's hand, the structure of our eyes, the rhythm of our heartbeat, the chemistry of our cells, all perfected through repetition and time. It is the same patience that turned minerals into continents and oceans into cradles of life. This unhurried process reveals a simple truth. Nature is not in a rush because it is not uncertain. It knows that time itself is the instrument of refinement. Even our mistakes mirror the world's long experiments. Every living being, every motion, every thought is part of this endless unfolding, an inheritance from the first molecules that found order within chaos. The next great transformation was still far ahead. Life had learned to endure, but it had not yet learned to move across land or to breathe the open air. The world remained a water planet, alive with quiet purpose. Beneath the surface, the tools of the future were being prepared, fins that would one day become legs, gills that would adapt to lungs, senses that would sharpen into awareness. It would take hundreds of millions of years before those plans emerged fully, and not once did nature hurry. The pace of evolution teaches a kind of peace. Progress does not require urgency, it requires persistence. In every tide and current, in every slow drift of genes, time was writing the code for all things to come. That patience, invisible, relentless, and kind, remains the heartbeat of the world. While life evolved within the oceans, the Earth itself continued to move with its own deliberate rhythm. The planet's crust, once a thin and restless shell, thickened into great plates that drifted slowly across the molten mantle beneath. These tectonic plates became the unseen machinery of change, pushing, pulling, colliding, shaping mountains, valleys, and oceans in cycles that spanned hundreds of millions of years. Nothing about this movement was quick, yet everything about it was essential. Mountains were never born in moments of violence, but through the soft persistence of uplift, layer upon layer of rock, pressed by unimaginable weight, rose slowly toward the sky. Then, over even longer spans of time, wind and water wore them down grain by grain, returning their dust to the sea. This endless rise and fall, the planet's own form of breathing, has repeated since the beginning. Creation and erosion, pressure and release, strength and surrender. The rhythm of the Earth mirrors that of life itself. Growth that depends on balance, endurance that depends on rest. From space, the continents might appear still, their borders fixed, their mountains eternal. But from the planet's own perspective, everything is in motion. The Atlantic Ocean widens each year by a few centimeters. The Himalayas climb imperceptibly higher with every season. The ground beneath our feet flows at a pace slower than thought, slower than memory, yet constant. If you could watch from afar, speeding time until 1,000,000 years passed in a blink, the continents would glide like living organisms, circling the globe in slow choreography. Within this great movement, the conditions for life continued to change. Volcanic eruptions renewed the atmosphere, releasing gases trapped deep within the earth. Rivers carried minerals from the mountains to the sea, feeding the growing biosphere. Climate shifted gently through cycles of ice and warmth, each swing shaping the path of evolution. The slow rearrangement of continents determined where species could live, how they adapted, and how they spread. Even the placement of a single landmass could decide the future of life for millions of years. The Earth's patience also governs its silence. The deepest layers of rock record time without speaking, pages of history pressed flat and hidden beneath our feet. Each layer marks an ancient shore, a vanished forest, or an ocean long turned to stone. Geologists read these layers as one might read a meditation on endurance. In them, we see that the world has never stopped moving, only slowed enough to seem at rest. Erosion plays its role with equal grace. The rain that falls today carries within it the same purpose as the rain that once carved the first valleys. Drop by drop, it reshapes the land, softening edges, smoothing peaks, reminding even the tallest mountain that permanence is an illusion. In this quiet work lies beauty, the understanding that change, when unhurried, creates harmony. Nothing is wasted. Every grain of sand, every pebble washed to the shore, becomes part of the planet's continual renewal. Human time barely registers against such scales. The span of recorded history, our empires, our inventions, our entire existence, occupies less than a flicker in geological terms. Yet we are products of this deep patience, the very stability that allows us to walk, to build, to grow food is the result of eons of slow motion beneath the surface. The continents beneath our cities are not static foundations but waves frozen in slow rhythm, holding us with quiet strength. There is a profound calm in recognizing how ancient and unhurried our home truly is. The world beneath us moves with neither hurry nor hesitation, obeying laws older than life itself. It teaches that strength is not found in resistance, but in the willingness to change slowly. Even stone, given enough time, flows. If you could feel the planet's pulse, it would be slow and steady, the deep heartbeat of tectonic movement, the subtle rhythm of erosion and renewal. It beats in silence, yet everything alive depends on it. The Earth does not need to rush. Its patience has already built continents, shaped climates, and given rise to life's every form. To live upon it is to share that rhythm, whether we notice it or not. The surface of the Earth is never still, and yet it is this constant movement that gives the planet its stability. Beneath the calm appearance of continents and seas lies a slow and graceful circulation. Tectonic plates drifting, air currents sweeping, ocean tides rising and falling in rhythms as old as time. To the human eye, these shifts are invisible. To the planet, they are the reason it endures. Motion, when guided by balance, becomes permanence. The drifting continents are part of a single, continuous cycle. They meet, merge, and part again, each encounter altering the flow of ocean currents and the pattern of global winds. When continents collide, mountains form. When they separate, oceans open. Over hundreds of millions of years, these movements have repeatedly reshaped the world, shifting climates, redirecting rainfall, and creating new ecological opportunities. Every species that has ever existed owes part of its story to the patient drift of stone across the mantle. Ocean currents act as the planet's veins, carrying heat from the equator toward the poles and returning cold water in its place. Without them, one hemisphere would scorch, while the other froze. The Gulf Stream, for instance, keeps much of Europe mild, transporting warmth from the tropics across the Atlantic. This journey of water, powered by temperature and salinity differences, unfolds at a pace so slow that a full circuit can take centuries. And yet, this measured rhythm keeps the planet's climate balanced, sustaining life through its quiet consistency. The atmosphere, too, moves in patterns of patience. Winds spiral around the globe, distributing moisture and heat, sculpting deserts and rainforests alike. Monsoons, trade winds, and jet streams may seem erratic, but they follow deeply rooted laws of physics. They are the Earth's breath, steady, cyclical, self-correcting. Each gust and whisper of air connects continents in ways unseen, transferring energy from one part of the world to another. Even the tilt of Earth's axis changes over time, oscillating gently in cycles that take tens of thousands of years. These shifts alter the balance of sunlight, bringing ice ages and interglacial warmth. The climate's great patterns are not accidents of chance, but outcomes of rhythm. In the planet's long memory, warmth and cold are part of the same conversation. Each extreme teaches balance. Within this grand system, disruption is temporary. After every storm, the atmosphere finds equilibrium again. After every volcanic eruption, the oceans absorb and redistribute the excess. The resilience of Earth comes not from rigidity, but from flexibility, from its willingness to move, adapt, and return to balance again and again. Motion is not the opposite of stability, it is its foundation. The same principle holds in all things, from the orbit of planets to the beating of a heart. Stability does not mean stillness, it means harmony among opposing forces. The tides pull, the winds shift, the crust moves, and yet the whole remains in order. The Earth teaches that life, too, depends on this balance, the capacity to change without losing coherence, to move without falling apart. Mountains erode, but their minerals feed the soil that sustains forests. Rivers carve valleys, but in doing so create habitats for countless species. Even the slow drift of continents ensures that nutrients from the deep ocean eventually return to the surface. Every motion, no matter how gradual, serves renewal. The planet's long patience is not a pause, but an unbroken continuity of movement. It is comforting to realize that what seems fragile, The delicate balance of climate, the quiet hum of ecosystems, is in fact anchored by motion too slow to see. Beneath the surface of our lives, the same physics applies. Breathing, circulation, thought, all are systems in motion, keeping order through flow. The steadiness we feel in our bodies and in the world is the harmony of countless small changes that never stop. When night falls, the continents continue to drift, the oceans continue their great currents, and the winds trace their invisible paths across the world. The planet does not sleep. It rests through motion, maintaining its calm through gentle, continuous change. In that sense, the Earth's patience is not passive. It is dynamic serenity, a perfect balance of movement that endures precisely because it never ceases. The quiet balance that sustains the continents and oceans finds its reflection in every living thing. Life does not stand apart from the rhythms of the earth and the stars. It mirrors them. Within each cell, within each breath and heartbeat, the same laws that govern galaxies operate on a smaller, more intimate scale. The patience that shapes mountains also shapes tissues. The stability that guides tides also guides the cycles of your body. Every living being carries within it a trace of the universe's deliberate calm. Inside even the simplest organism, time unfolds in careful increments. Chemical reactions, like miniature cosmic events, proceed with precision. Enzymes move molecules into place with perfect timing. Nerves transmit signals at measured speeds, ensuring harmony between thought and motion. The rate at which a cell divides, the pace at which it heals, the rhythm of its growth, all are calibrated for balance, not haste. To accelerate too much would mean instability. To slow too much would mean decay. Nature achieves endurance by finding that fine line between movement and rest. Consider the heartbeat, an alternating rhythm of contraction and release that keeps every creature alive. It is a pulse written into the language of physics and biology alike, a repeating pattern of pressure and release. The blood that flows through your veins does so in waves, just as light travels through space in waves. Each beat sustains a world within, renewing it again and again. The body is, in its own way, a galaxy of motion, billions of cells orbiting their functions in silence. Even the processes that appear instantaneous, a thought, a blink, a breath, are the results of countless steps unfolding at molecular speed. When you inhale, oxygen passes from air to blood, from blood to cell, fueling reactions that have continued uninterrupted since the dawn of life. When you exhale, carbon and hydrogen combine, returning to the atmosphere as carbon dioxide and water, completing a cycle that links every organism to the planet. This rhythm has been maintained for billions of years, unbroken and unhurried. Growth itself is a lesson in patience. A tree does not rush to reach the sky. It expands one ring at a time, converting sunlight into structure through quiet persistence. The body heals in the same way, slowly, systematically, without panic. Wounds close through coordination, not urgency. Cells replace what is lost with measured precision, honoring the principle that lasting change takes time. The pace may feel invisible, but it is the invisibility of perfect order. When we look inward, we find that even our thoughts follow these same patterns. The mind, though capable of speed, organizes meaning through repetition and rest. Memories consolidate during sleep, knowledge settles through reflection, and understanding matures over time. The brain does not truly learn by racing ahead. It learns by allowing information to settle, to weave itself quietly into the larger pattern. This, too, is biological patience, the ability to wait for coherence. The connection between living and cosmic rhythm runs deeper than metaphor. The atoms that make up every cell were forged in ancient stars. The calcium that gives structure to bone, the iron that carries oxygen through blood, the carbon that forms the backbone of DNA. All were created in the furnaces of long-dead suns and scattered into space by their explosions. The material of life was not born quickly. It spent billions of years journeying through the galaxy before gathering here. Every cell in your body is made of matter that once moved through the heart of a star. To live, then, is to continue the work of the universe, to maintain balance through slow and constant transformation. Each heartbeat, each breath, each quiet moment of recovery is a continuation of cosmic patience. The same equilibrium that keeps galaxies rotating keeps the body alive. You are not separate from that process. You are its most delicate expression. When the day quiets and your breath slows, you join that ancient rhythm again, not as an observer, but as a participant. The stillness you feel in rest is not absence of motion. It is perfect synchronization with the laws that hold the cosmos together. Life endures not because it rushes, but because it moves with infinite care. Among all forms of life, humanity alone seems to resist the slow rhythm of the world that created it. Our days are counted in hours and minutes, our progress measured by acceleration. We build devices to move faster, to think faster, to produce faster, mistaking speed for significance. Yet the universe, vast and unbothered, continues at its own deliberate pace, reminding us through every sunrise and orbit that time is not something to chase but something to inhabit. The human sense of time is both gift and limitation. Our perception evolved to notice change, the flicker of movement in the grass, the approach of dawn, the beating of a heart. It allowed our ancestors to survive, but it also anchored us to brief spans of awareness. What we call a long time is only a blink in the life of a mountain, a whisper in the rotation of a galaxy. We feel urgency because our lives are short, not because the world is. The earth has no deadlines. Still, we try to compress the infinite into the immediate. We measure success by what can be achieved quickly, and we mourn what takes too long. We look at the stars and marvel that their light has traveled billions of years to reach us, yet we sigh when a moment delays us here on Earth. In doing so, we forget that the same light we admire was patient enough to cross the void without complaint. The universe moves through eternity, while we hurry through seconds. The mind is naturally restless. It seeks progress, fearing stillness as though quiet means nothingness. But stillness, as the cosmos teaches, is never empty. It is full of slow motion, of invisible preparation. Mountains grow imperceptibly, trees thicken while appearing motionless. Even within us, blood flows, cells divide, and thought itself unfolds in sequences of chemistry and electricity, none of which we control, yet all of which sustain us. We are living evidence that serenity and motion coexist. When humans learn to slow their perception, something remarkable happens. The distinction between waiting and living begins to fade. Time, when no longer resisted, becomes space, something to move within rather than against. Watching a tide recede or a shadow shift across the ground returns us to the natural rhythm that has always governed existence. The pressure of urgency lifts. What remains is participation in the same patience that allows stars to burn for billions of years. Even our sense of age is shaped by contrast. To a child, a year feels endless. To an adult, it vanishes. This elasticity of experience reveals that time itself is not fixed, only our perception of it is. The same hour can expand or contract depending on how present we are within it. The universe experiences no such distortion. It simply continues. In understanding that, we glimpse freedom from the tyranny of hurry. Technology and culture have amplified our pace, but they have not changed our nature. Beneath the rush of modern life, our biology still operates on ancient rhythms. We sleep and wake with the turning of the planet. Our hearts beat in steady intervals. Our thoughts follow cycles of attention and rest. The machinery of existence moves too slowly to notice, but it continues regardless of our awareness. We can align with it again simply by remembering that we are not separate from it. To slow down is not to fall behind. It is to rejoin the rhythm that has always been there. The universe has no schedule, no race, no finish line. It expands without anxiety, creates without hurry, transforms without fear of delay. In its mirror, we see what peace looks like when it is free from measurement. If we could see our lives against the backdrop of cosmic time, our worries about being late, our impatience with waiting, would dissolve like mist. The galaxies above us have been moving since before our species appeared, and they will continue long after. Yet their motion never feels frantic, only graceful. We too can move that way. To live fully is not to rush, but to participate consciously in the slow unfolding of reality. And in that realization lies comfort. We are not late. We are not falling behind. We are exactly on time, as the universe always is. Night falls gently over the planet, just as it has for billions of years. Above, stars drift through their quiet orbits, crossing the sky so slowly that even generations cannot witness their change. Beneath them, glaciers move down mountainsides, their progress invisible to waking eyes yet unstoppable across centuries. Rivers carve valleys, winds sculpt dunes, and tectonic plates slide silently beneath our feet. Every motion on Earth and in the heavens shares the same unhurried rhythm, a rhythm that continues even as we close our eyes and surrender to sleep. In rest, the human body returns to the same state of balance that guides the cosmos. Muscles loosen, heartbeats slow, and breathing settles into its natural cadence. The body shifts from effort to renewal, from doing to being. Deep within, cells repair, memories organize, and energy redistributes itself. We call this sleep, but on a deeper level, it is participation in the same equilibrium that holds galaxies in orbit and keeps planets turning steadily through the void. Outside, the universe rests too, though its rest is not stillness. Stars continue to fuse atoms into light, but they do so without urgency. Glaciers creep forward, each year advancing mere centimeters, reshaping continents in their own time. Forests grow ring by ring, layer by layer. Even decay follows a patient rhythm, returning matter to the soil so new life can rise. There is no rush in any of it, no anxiety about completion. Nature trusts its timing. When you drift into sleep, you mirror that trust. Your mind moves from conscious thought to quiet awareness, floating through dreams where time no longer follows straight lines. The ticking of hours loses meaning, seconds stretch or vanish altogether. In that state, your body continues its slow work, heart, lungs, and nerves, maintaining the steady rhythm that connects you to every other living thing. You rest because the universe rests, because rest is built into the fabric of being. Imagine the world during the night. Far from cities, the land exhales mist into cool air. Mountains stand unmoving but alive with unseen motion, rocks expanding and contracting with temperature, streams gliding beneath ice, insects stilling their wings until dawn. The night sky above them hums faintly with starlight, light that began its journey before humanity existed. It continues traveling now, unhurried, crossing the vastness between suns. The quiet of that scene is not emptiness. It is the soundless continuity of motion too slow for the waking mind to measure. Even the galaxies themselves seem to rest in their turning. From great distances, their spiraling arms resemble whirlpools of calm. Each rotation takes hundreds of millions of years, yet they move as though choreographed, without friction or fatigue. Within them, countless stars live out their cycles of birth and fading, their energy pulsing softly through the dark. The universe does not sleep as we do, but it embodies the same principle: activity balanced by peace, energy balanced by pause. This harmony is what allows everything to endure. The stars that burn do not consume themselves in haste. They radiate slowly, conserving balance through time. The glaciers that carve valleys do not force their way. They glide with patience, sculpting the world with weight and grace. Sleep, on our smaller scale, performs the same miracle. It restores without strain, repairs without effort, and prepares us for the next dawn with the quiet efficiency of cosmic law. Some nights, sleep comes quickly. Other times, it hesitates, as though waiting for the body to find alignment again. There is no need to force it. The universe itself has waited billions of years for every transformation, and it has never failed to arrive at the right moment. Rest follows the same law. Whether it comes soon or slowly, it comes when it must. As the stars continue their silent drift overhead, remember that your rest belongs to this same pattern: the slow turning of worlds, the soft movement of air, the long glide of ice and water. Even in sleep, you are part of this ongoing motion. You are not separate from the galaxies or the tides. You are their reflection in miniature. The same patience that turns the heavens also turns within you, carrying you gently towards stillness and renewal. When dawn returns, the light that spills across the earth has been traveling for 8 minutes from the sun, a heartbeat of cosmic distance, yet a reminder that all things on our planet move within a far greater scale. Against that backdrop, the rise of human civilization is like a flicker of lightning, a momentary brightness within the long, slow unfolding of time. And still, in that briefness, there is meaning. Human beings appeared late in Earth's history, the product of an unbroken line of adaptations stretching back through billions of years of life. Our emergence was not sudden. It was the culmination of quiet transformations, of cells learning to cooperate, of organisms learning to think and remember. Over countless generations, small changes accumulated until awareness turned inward, until life began to reflect on itself. The cosmos had produced eyes that could look back at the stars. Civilization, in all its brilliance, occupies only the thinnest layer of time. The first tools chipped from stone are barely older than the memory of glaciers retreating from the last ice age. Agriculture began only 10 or 12,000 years ago, when humans learned to stay in one place and let the rhythm of seasons shape their lives. Writing, cities, mathematics, and music, the entire record of human thought, span no more than a few thousand years. In the language of the universe, that is less than a breath. Yet in that breath, we have changed the surface of the world. We have built towers of glass and steel, illuminated nights with captured fire, sent machines to orbit and beyond. We have traced our origins back to the atoms forged in dying stars, and learned to measure the expansion of the cosmos itself. Our curiosity has always outpaced our years. But while we race to understand, the universe remains calm, continuing its vast, silent work, unchanged by our hurry. Seen from space, the traces of civilization seem almost to disappear. The great cities that glow like constellations at night vanish in daylight, swallowed by clouds and distance. The oceans, forests, and deserts remain what they have always been: slow, steady, enduring. To the earth, human time is a ripple on the surface of a deep and ancient sea. Our empires rise and fall, our inventions come and go, but the planet's patient systems continue beneath it all. It is tempting to see this brevity as insignificance, but perhaps it is something gentler, a reminder of scale. The universe does not measure worth by duration. The life of a mayfly, a star, or a civilization, each fulfills its role within the same fabric of time. Our shortness makes us aware. It gives urgency to love, to creation, to meaning. It is precisely because we are temporary that we long to understand the eternal. Even our greatest speeds, the pulse of digital communication, the orbit of spacecraft, the firing of neurons, exist within the boundaries of cosmic patience. No message we send travels faster than light. No thought defies the physics of time. Every discovery we make simply brings us closer to seeing how much larger and slower reality truly is. The universe allows us to sprint only so we can learn how to pause. When we stand beneath the night sky, looking up at starlight older than humanity itself, something inside us begins to slow. The rush of thought quiets. The scale of time becomes tangible. We begin to sense that civilization, for all its movement, is part of a greater stillness. Our buildings, machines, and cities are extensions of the same matter that once drifted in nebulae. The hands that build them are guided by the same patience that formed continents and carved riverbeds. Civilization may be brief, but it is also luminous, an expression of awareness that the universe took billions of years to prepare, and perhaps its purpose is not to last forever, but to notice. To realize that speed is only a form of perception, and that what we call progress is another kind of orbit, circling a truth we have known all along. That life, intelligence, and beauty emerge when energy finds balance with time. In that sense, our story fits perfectly into the rhythm of all things. We rise, we create, we rest, and we return, just as stars are born, shine, fade, and scatter their light to make way for what comes next. Civilization, too, is a phase of the universe's long breath. However brief, It is part of the same continuity that turns galaxies, lifts tides, and carries dreams through sleep. Long before telescopes reached into the deep darkness of space, humans looked upward and wondered. The first astronomers were not scientists in laboratories, but people standing in fields and deserts, tracing patterns among stars. They noticed the slow drift of constellations across seasons, the measured rhythm of the moon's phases, the predictability of eclipses. Without clocks or engines, they found order written in the sky. Astronomy began not as a pursuit of speed, but as an act of stillness, of waiting, watching, and recording. To observe the heavens is to experience time differently. The stars do not rush. They rise, cross, and set with perfect regularity, bound to motions that repeat over millions of years. When Galileo turned his telescope toward Jupiter, he saw tiny moons orbiting it in a miniature reflection of the solar system. When he aimed it at the Milky Way, he realized that the soft band of light was not a mist, but countless stars, too distant to distinguish individually. Each discovery unfolded through patience, nights of observation, notes compared, ideas refined. The universe revealed itself not to those who demanded answers quickly, but to those who were willing to wait for them. Modern astronomy, for all its technology, still honors that same rhythm. Telescopes collect light that has traveled across billions of years, photons that began their journey long before Earth even formed. The James Webb Space Telescope, orbiting far from our planet's glare, peers into the faint infrared glow of the earliest galaxies, the first structures to shine after the cosmic dawn. What it sees is not the present, but the past preserved in light. Every image it sends back is a time capsule, a message from creation itself saying, "This is what patience looks like." To study the sky is to learn humility. Through astronomy, we discover that our planet is not the center of anything, that our star is one among billions, our galaxy one among trillions. This realization might seem to diminish us, but instead it connects us to everything. The same laws that govern distant stars govern the atoms in our bodies. The same gravity that shapes galaxies holds us gently to the ground. We are small, but we are not separate. Each discovery expands our awareness and, paradoxically, slows our thoughts. The vastness of the cosmos invites quiet. Looking through a telescope on a clear night, one senses not chaos but balance, a stillness born from motion too large to measure. Even the rotation of the earth beneath our feet becomes part of that calm, carrying us through the sky in a silent arc. The stars remain, we turn, and yet we feel steady. Astronomy also teaches us how to listen to faint signals over long spans of time. The light that enters a telescope's mirror tonight may have traveled from a star that no longer exists. In capturing it, we are receiving a memory, a soft echo of something gone. Science calls it data. The heart recognizes it as continuity. Nothing in the universe is truly lost. Its energy, its light, its story simply changes form. There is a profound serenity in realizing that observation itself mirrors the nature of the cosmos. The astronomer's discipline, long hours, patient recording, acceptance of uncertainty, reflects the way the universe behaves. Discovery happens when curiosity meets stillness, when persistence replaces haste. Each insight, no matter how small, is the result of aligning human attention with cosmic time. Even in the age of high-speed computation, astronomy remains a practice of slowness. Light must travel, instruments must collect, the mind must wait. The great observatories scattered across mountaintops and orbiting in space are monuments not to power, but to patience. They remind us that truth, like light, takes time to arrive. And so, when we look up at the night sky, we are not just studying the universe, we are practicing the art of calm perception. We are reminded that to see clearly, one must be still long enough for the light to reach the eye. The galaxies above us teach without words. Understanding grows not from rushing toward answers, but from resting in the presence of what is vast and eternal. The universe moves in silence, and astronomy allows us to move with it, to share in its slowness, its balance, its grace. In the end, the sky humbles us not because it is distant, but because it reveals that we belong to something that has never needed to hurry. Every light that shines must one day fade, and in the universe, even endings unfold with elegance. Stars, after burning for millions or billions of years, eventually reach the limits of their fuel. The hydrogen in their cores, slowly fused into helium over unimaginable time, becomes scarce. What follows is not sudden collapse, but a series of gradual changes, an intricate choreography between pressure, gravity, and heat. As with everything in the cosmos, even death arrives by way of patience. A star's life is sustained by balance. For as long as fusion continues, the outward pressure of radiation perfectly counters the inward pull of gravity. When that equilibrium begins to falter, the star adjusts itself slowly, layer by layer. Its core contracts, heating up, while its outer layers expand and cool. What was once a white-hot sphere becomes a vast red giant, its surface spreading across millions of kilometers. The change happens so gradually that an observer might not notice for thousands of years. Yet the transformation is profound. A star nearing its end becomes larger, gentler, and more luminous, glowing like an ember rather than a flame. Around such a star, planets feel the shift. Temperatures rise, atmospheres evaporate, orbits drift. But even this upheaval unfolds at the speed of patience. The process that will eventually erase entire worlds begins with barely perceptible change. For a long while the star still gives light, softer, redder, diffused through expanding clouds of gas. Only when the core can no longer sustain fusion does gravity reclaim control, compressing what remains into new forms. For small and medium-sized stars, like our Sun, the finale is quiet. They shed their outer layers gently, creating luminous shells of gas called planetary nebulae, shimmering veils suspended in the dark. At their center remains a white dwarf, a core no larger than Earth, glowing faintly with residual heat. These remnants will cool for trillions of years before fading completely. There is no violence in their ending, only gradual surrender. The star gives its light back to the universe and rests. Massive stars follow a more dramatic but equally purposeful path. Their immense gravity pushes them toward collapse more quickly once fusion ceases, leading to an explosion so powerful it can outshine entire galaxies. A supernova is not chaos. It is structure under extreme transformation. In those final moments, elements forged deep within the star, carbon, oxygen, iron, gold, are cast into space, enriching the cosmic medium with the materials for future stars, planets, and life. What appears as destruction is, in truth, renewal written in light. After the explosion, what remains may become a neutron star, a core so dense that a teaspoon of its matter would weigh billions of tons, or, if the star was large enough, a black hole, where gravity folds space and time into silence. Yet even these outcomes obey order. Matter does not vanish, it changes form. Energy does not disappear, it disperses into new beginnings. Each death of a star is a gift to the next generation of creation, a patient recycling that ensures the cosmos continues to evolve. Our Sun will one day follow this same path, swelling into a red giant before releasing its outer layers and leaving behind a quiet white dwarf. The Earth will be long gone by then, but the atoms that once formed it, and us, will join the interstellar medium once more, drifting through space until gravity gathers them into something new. In this way, nothing in the universe is ever truly lost. Every ending becomes the soil of another beginning. There is comfort in knowing that even endings are measured, graceful, and necessary. Stars do not fight their decline. They yield to it with the same calm that defined their lives. Their light, traveling long after they fade, continues to cross the universe, touching worlds they never knew existed. The glow of ancient suns falls on us each night, carrying messages from long ago that beauty and impermanence are not opposites, that patience carries on even through transformation. If you have ever watched the last embers of a fire, you have seen a reflection of this truth. The warmth diminishes, the light softens, but something remains, a quiet presence that feels eternal. The stars end this way too, not in silence but in serenity. As the great cycles of birth and death among stars continue, the universe itself moves gradually toward quiet. Every supernova disperses its light. Every star that fades leaves behind a little more darkness. Yet this darkness is not absence, it is transformation, the spreading of energy into ever finer balance. Over billions of years, the cosmos slowly redistributes its heat, its light, its movement, until nothing burns too brightly and nothing freezes entirely. The story of light is, in truth, the story of patience approaching completion. From our small corner of the galaxy, this process is invisible. The night sky still glows with billions of suns, their combined brilliance forming a canopy of silver across the dark. But astronomers know that this abundance is temporary. Stars are not eternal. Their lifespans are measured by the pace of their fusion. One by one, the bright giants fade, leaving behind smaller, quieter stars. Galaxies that once blazed with youthful energy age into dimmer, softer spirals. The light that filled the early universe is stretched thinner with each passing epoch, its color shifting gently toward red as space itself expands. This stretching, what scientists call redshift, is the universe's most subtle expression of slowness. It is light losing energy not through struggle but through distance. A photon traveling for 1 billion years does not tire. It simply lengthens its wavelength, changing hue as the fabric of space unfurls around it. The glow we see from ancient galaxies today is not the same light that left them. It has been transformed by time, softened, cooled, translated into the language of patience. Eventually, far in the future, even this light will thin to near invisibility. The galaxies will drift apart until their faint illumination no longer bridges the space between them. What will remain is not emptiness but equilibrium. Energy will still exist, diffused evenly across the cosmos, too balanced to form new stars, too gentle to burn. The universe will have reached what physicists call thermodynamic balance, a final stillness that is neither death nor sleep, but rest. In that distant age, light will continue to move, but its purpose will be peace, not creation. The grand radiance of the early cosmos will have dissolved into a calm, uniform glow, the ultimate quiet after eons of sound. And yet, even in that silence, memory will persist. The atoms forged in long-vanished suns will continue to drift, carrying within them the record of everything that ever was. The cosmos does not forget, it merely slows its expression. To think of this, slow fading, is not to mourn but to understand scale. Light has always been transient, yet it defines the visible world. Its disappearance will not erase meaning, it will complete a cycle. Every star, every spark, every reflection on water has been part of this long unwinding. Just as life depends on rest, the universe itself requires an ending gentle enough to honor all it has built. Entropy, the spreading of energy, is often described as loss, but it is also balance finding its purest form. In the early universe, energy was crowded, condensed, urgent. Over time, it learned to disperse, to settle, to fill every corner equally. What begins in pressure ends in calm. The journey from light to equilibrium mirrors the rhythm of breath, inhalation gathering energy, exhalation releasing it into rest. Even now, this balance is unfolding around us. The light that reaches Earth from the stars is ancient, softened by distance. Each photon that enters the atmosphere warms the air slightly, nourishes a leaf, or illuminates a human face before continuing its journey into space. It gives without knowing its destination, dispersing gently, endlessly. Its fading is not an ending. It is the continuation of generosity at the slowest possible pace. Someday, our descendants, if they still look upward, may see a sky with fewer stars, a darker canopy overhead. They might wonder where the light has gone. Yet the truth will be that it has gone everywhere, spread thin across the infinite, woven into the background that sustains the whole. The light will not have vanished. It will have become the universe's final whisper, a soft, eternal glow, the memory of brilliance turned to peace. And so, even as the stars dim, the message remains the same, that slowness is not decay, but grace. The cosmos does not rush towards silence, it glides. Every flicker, every ray, every fading glow is part of a promise that nothing truly ends. It simply learns to rest. Among the most mysterious creations of the cosmos are black holes, places where patience becomes absolute. They are the final expressions of gravity's persistence, formed when massive stars collapse inward under their own weight. Nothing escapes their pull, not even light. Around them, time itself bends and slows, revealing that slowness is not only a perception but a fundamental property of reality. A black hole begins quietly. After a massive star exhausts its fuel and explodes as a supernova, what remains can no longer resist gravity's inward pull. The core collapses to a point of infinite density, a singularity wrapped in an invisible boundary called the event horizon. From a distance, it appears serene, a region of space where light curves gracefully, drawn into darkness. Yet within that calm lies the most extreme patience imaginable, time stretched so thin that seconds near the horizon become centuries to an outside observer. If you could watch an object fall toward a black hole, you would never see it cross the edge. As it neared the event horizon, its motion would appear to slow endlessly, its light red-shifting until it faded from view. From your perspective, it would hover there forever, frozen at the threshold. Time for the object itself would continue normally, but to the universe it would seem almost still. The black hole is where motion becomes rest, where even falling finds its final equilibrium. Inside that unseen boundary, the laws of physics we know begin to blur. Space and time trade roles, directions lose meaning. Yet, remarkably, black holes are not chaotic. They obey elegant mathematical rules, described with simplicity. Their mass, spin, and charge define everything about them. The complexity of what falls in, stars, gas, light, is distilled into a few quiet properties. It is as though the universe, in its most extreme state, chooses simplicity over struggle. Around many black holes, matter forms a glowing disk as it spirals inward. Friction and gravity heat this material until it shines with fierce radiation. These accretion disks are among the brightest phenomena in existence, paradoxically, the greatest darkness surrounded by the greatest light. The energy released there can power galaxies, drive jets of particles that travel thousands of light years, and shape the structure of the cosmos itself. What seems like destruction is again transformation, a final act of release, spreading energy outward before surrendering to silence. Supermassive black holes, millions or billions of times heavier than our Sun, sit at the centers of galaxies, including our own. They anchor the swirling orbits of stars, stabilizing their motion through gravity alone. Without them, the galactic dance would lose its rhythm. In their presence, chaos becomes order, and light finds direction. Even the darkest objects in the universe serve its balance. These colossal engines also reveal the connection between gravity and time. The stronger the gravity, the slower time passes. Near a black hole, clocks would tick imperceptibly compared to those on Earth. This is not illusion. It is the geometry of reality itself. The universe teaches, through its most enigmatic creations, that slowness is woven into its fabric, that to draw closer to gravity is to draw closer to stillness. In some distant future, when most stars have faded, black holes will be among the last active structures left. Over eons, they too will lose mass, evaporating through the faint emission of particles known as Hawking radiation. Even this process, the final dissolution of gravity's monuments, will take longer than the current age of the universe by unimaginable factors. Patience, it seems, is infinite. The idea that time can slow, that motion can converge towards stillness, brings a kind of peace. At the most extreme edges of existence, the cosmos reveals not chaos but order, not violence but quiet inevitability. Black holes are not ends but transitions, doorways where energy, matter, and time themselves are rearranged into forms we cannot yet imagine. Perhaps, when the last light in the universe fades, Only their gentle hum will remain, a soundless reminder that slowness is the natural destiny of all things. Even time, in the end, learns to rest. Far beyond the reach of our instruments, deeper than the light of any galaxy can travel, the universe is already beginning to hush. It is not silence in the way we know it, not the absence of sound, but the widening of stillness. The great engines of creation continue to turn, but more slowly, more gently, as though the cosmos itself is learning to rest. The stars are fewer now. The galaxies glide apart through expanding space like lanterns drifting on an endless sea. In this growing quiet, black holes remain as sentinels, marking the last places where gravity holds matter close. Around them, dust and gas still spiral, glowing faintly in the dark. Each flicker of radiation that escapes into the void travels farther and longer before meeting anything else. Collisions between galaxies become rare, the distances between them stretch beyond reach. Over uncountable ages, light itself becomes too faint to illuminate. Yet what appears to us as fading is simply balance completing its long journey toward perfection. Inside the remaining galaxies, the stars continue to age. The bright, youthful ones die first, leaving behind red dwarfs, small, steady embers that burn for trillions of years. Their glow is soft, steady, and enduring, casting a dim warmth across whatever worlds may still orbit them. Eventually, even they will cool, becoming dark spheres of crystallized matter. When that time comes, the universe will have grown old, not from decay, but from fulfillment. It will have given all its energy to light, and then reclaimed it again. The spaces between galaxies will expand faster than light can bridge them. Each island of stars will drift alone, surrounded by darkness so vast that no signal can escape. Time will still move forward, but ever more slowly, stretched by the expanding fabric of reality. To any future observer, if such a being could exist, the cosmos would appear almost motionless. The last flickers of starlight would fade, leaving a soft background glow that carries the memory of everything that once was. Black holes, too, will eventually yield their strength. Through the faint process of Hawking radiation, they will release their stored energy particle by particle, vanishing so gradually that the act itself becomes indistinguishable from eternity. What remains will be a universe of faint warmth, photons and particles drifting through endless night, each carrying a trace of the energy that once formed galaxies, stars, and life. And yet, even here, the story does not feel tragic. The great quiet is not a loss, it is the return of everything to stillness. The cosmos is completing a long exhalation, the final sigh of creation after eons of expansion. Every star that ever burned, every planet that ever cooled, every life that ever thought or dreamed has contributed to this balance. The universe is not ending, it is resting in the equilibrium it always sought. This final calm carries a kind of tenderness. The same patience that once shaped atoms and galaxies now cradles their remnants. No energy is wasted, no motion without purpose. The rhythm of creation, so vast and ancient, simply slows until it becomes indistinguishable from peace. If consciousness still exists, somewhere, somehow, it might not mourn this stillness. It might recognize it as home. For everything that has ever existed was born from quiet and will return to it. Every pulse of energy, every thought, every song, every heartbeat is part of the same long journey toward repose. In the great quiet, time itself will seem to fade, not because it stops, but because nothing remains to measure it. There will be no more dawns or orbits, no more days to count. The cosmos will exist in a single, perfect moment, vast, silent, and whole. It is not an ending, but a return to the same calm that preceded the first burst of light. And perhaps, in that stillness, lies a truth we can already sense, that peace is not found after motion, but within it, that the universe has never truly rushed, and that every flicker of time, from the birth of stars to the rhythm of your breathing, has always been moving toward this same gentle quiet. Somewhere within this vast and patient universe, a small planet still circles its star. On its surface, there are beings who can look upward and think, Against the backdrop of eternity, this might seem insignificant, a flicker of awareness in a sea of silence, yet it is precisely this briefness that makes our moment profound. The universe, through us, has found a way to know itself. Every act of seeing, of listening, of wondering, is a continuation of cosmic reflection. When a human eye looks at starlight, it completes a journey that began billions of years ago, when atoms forged in stellar cores first learned to shine. The mind that contemplates that light is made of the same material: carbon, oxygen, calcium, iron, all created in the slow, luminous furnaces of ancient suns. To be aware, even for an instant, is to take part in the greatest patience ever known. Our lives are short compared to the timescales of galaxies, yet their rhythm moves within us. The beat of a heart, the cycle of breath, the slow repair of cells in sleep, all echo the measured calm of cosmic processes. We may live fast by human reckoning, but we are still guided by the same laws of balance that shape the stars. Each moment of stillness we allow ourselves is a return to the natural order of time. To pause beneath the night sky is to feel this truth. In those moments of quiet, when thoughts slow and noise recedes, the boundaries between human and cosmos begin to dissolve. The same darkness that fills the space between galaxies surrounds you gently. The same light that began in distant stars now glows on your skin. There is no separation, only different scales of the same unfolding. For all our striving, humanity's most beautiful acts often happen in stillness. A hand resting on another, a breath shared in understanding, the long gaze of someone listening fully. These gestures mirror the slow elegance of nature, where power and peace coexist. We may dream of speed, of progress, of reaching the stars, but our greatest strength lies in the ability to wait, to observe, to exist deliberately in time. When civilizations rise and fade, when knowledge passes from one generation to another, what endures is not what we build but how we notice. The awe that children feel when they first see the Milky Way, the quiet realization of someone watching the sunrise after a sleepless night. These are continuations of the same awareness that once drew early humans to mark the phases of the moon. Our gaze upward connects us to everything that ever was. There will come a time, unimaginably distant, when even the stars will fade. Yet the fact that we were here to see them, to record their light, to name them, to dream under their glow, is enough. Awareness gives the universe a witness. Through consciousness, the cosmos has paused to admire itself before continuing its long drift into rest. That moment, though brief, changes everything. We often fear our impermanence, but in the grand rhythm of time, impermanence is harmony. The mayfly lives a day, the star a billion years, yet both fulfill the same principle: existence within balance. The beauty of life is not in its length, but in its alignment with the patience of creation. To live fully is to accept our smallness and still stand in wonder, to know we are fleeting, yet connected to all that endures. When you next step outside at night, let the slowness of the world remind you that you are not apart from it. The air that cools your skin once moved through mountains and oceans. The light above you began its journey before there were words to describe it. The silence around you is not emptiness but belonging. We are the universe, briefly awake, and for this moment, that is enough. There is a rhythm that underlies everything, the slow pulse that carries galaxies through their orbits, tides across their shores, and breath through living bodies. It is not always loud enough to notice, but it is constant, steady, patient. Rest is not the absence of that rhythm, it is when we finally move in harmony with it. Every creature, every element, every atom follows this alternating pattern of motion and pause, of expansion and recovery. The universe does not rush, because its nature is already complete. When the body grows still, it does not stop existing, it becomes more deeply aligned with its origin. During sleep, we return unconsciously to that original state of balance. Cells repair quietly, thoughts find order, the mind drifts between awareness and release. The same balance that holds planets in orbit guides this nightly renewal. Gravity keeps the stars steady, and sleep keeps life steady. Each is a form of trust, an understanding that we do not need to control what continues on its own. The need for rest is woven into the laws of physics as much as into biology. Even the most active systems reach equilibrium. Stars regulate their fusion to remain stable. Ecosystems restore themselves after storms. Seasons turn the world's energy from growth to recovery. Nothing can remain in motion without pause. Rest is how the universe breathes. In our lives, this rhythm is easy to forget. We chase hours, fill calendars, and mistake exhaustion for purpose. Yet the cosmos shows another way: patience as strength, stillness as endurance. The longest-lived stars are not those that burn the brightest, but those that conserve their energy, radiating gently for trillions of years. So too, the moments in which we rest, where the mind quiets and the body releases its tension, are not interruptions of living but the very foundation of it. As you lie here, your breathing becomes part of that larger cycle. Air moves in and out, like tides along a shore. The heartbeat slows, echoing the rotations of planets around their stars. There is no rush to reach morning. The night itself is enough. The universe continues its silent motion whether or not you are awake to see it. In rest, you join it. You are no longer separate from its flow. Sleep is not a retreat from consciousness but an invitation to merge with the wider order of existence. During those quiet hours, the mind rebalances its complexity, the body renews its form, and the spirit, whatever name we give it, finds the stillness it was built for. The same patience that cools a world after its fiery birth works within you each night, easing the heat of your days into calm. Outside, the stars keep shining, unaware of time. Their light travels toward you through centuries, entering your room softly, unchanged by distance. The faint glow that reaches your skin is a message from the cosmos, that all things move toward rest, that nothing is wasted, that quiet is the highest form of continuation. If you find yourself between wakefulness and sleep now, that is perfectly right. The body knows when to let go, just as the universe knows when to slow. Let your thoughts drift like clouds through dark sky. The rhythm of breath, the pulse in your wrist, the faint hum of the world beyond your window, all are reminders that you belong to a system that has always known what to do. And in that surrender, peace arrives not as escape but as recognition. You are not falling away from life, you are aligning with it. The universe rests within you as you rest within it. In the deepest sense, the universe endures because it never resists itself. From the smallest atom to the largest cluster of galaxies, everything follows its natural course, expanding, cooling, transforming, resting. It does not demand permanence. It simply allows continuation in new forms. The cosmos has no fear of change, because change is its nature. This quiet acceptance is what gives it its strength. If we look closely, we can see the same endurance in the smallest moments of life. A seed does not force its growth. It waits for warmth, for moisture, for the right alignment of light. A wave does not rush toward the shore. It carries its energy patiently across the ocean, shaped by wind and tide. Even the human heart, tireless as it seems, finds rest between each beat, a fraction of stillness that makes the next pulse possible. All endurance depends on rhythm, and all rhythm depends on patience. The calm of the universe is not emptiness but continuity. The galaxies that drift apart still remain connected through the invisible fabric of gravity and space-time. Nothing is lost, it only changes context. Stars become dust, dust becomes planets, planets become life. Even the light, that seems to vanish into black holes, is not destroyed. It contributes to gravity's shape, folded into the next design of existence. Every end folds into a beginning so slowly that the two cannot be told apart. It is only from our narrow perspective that we see separation. To the cosmos, there is no boundary between now and later, between beginning and end. Time is not a line but a flow, and within that flow, everything that ever was still exists in some form. The atoms that once belonged to ancient stars now move through your breath. The light that left a distant galaxy before the Earth formed now glances across your skin. You are surrounded by the traces of what once was and the seeds of what will be. This perspective can quiet the restlessness of the human mind. We hurry to hold on to moments, fearing their loss, yet the universe reminds us that nothing truly disappears. What leaves us simply changes form, returning in ways we may never see. A memory fades, but the warmth it created ripples outward into other lives. The breath you release becomes part of the air that sustains another being. Continuity hides beneath impermanence like a pulse beneath silence. If endurance has a lesson, it is this: that peace is not the absence of movement, but the mastery of it. The stars endure not because they resist gravity, but because they balance it. The earth endures because its rotation never stops, turning smoothly between day and night. Life endures because it adapts, flowing around obstacles instead of breaking against them. The calm of existence lies not in control, but in cooperation with time. When we accept this rhythm, when we let events unfold instead of forcing them, something within us aligns with the wider world. The body relaxes, thought softens, and we begin to move with the same grace that guides oceans and orbits. The universe does not strain to exist, neither should we. Our strength lies in the same quiet endurance that has sustained everything since the first light. As you breathe now, imagine that vast rhythm passing through you. With each inhale, you draw in atoms shaped by ancient stars. With each exhale, you return them to the world to be used again. You are both transient and eternal, a single note within an unending harmony. The patience of the cosmos lives within your pulse. And so, endurance is not something to achieve. It is something already happening, always, in you and around you. To recognize it is to rest, not in stillness alone, but in belonging. Time moves like a tide that never ends. It flows through stars, through rivers, through the smallest flicker of thought, yet it never repeats and never truly leaves. The galaxies turn, the planets spin, the hearts beat, all keeping time with an unseen rhythm that began before memory and will continue long after sound itself fades. The universe is not counting, it is simply unfolding. Every second that passes is both new and ancient, a continuation of the same timeless pulse. This rhythm is everywhere, in the slow migration of clouds across the sky, in the growth of coral beneath the sea, in the migration of birds and the opening of flowers. Every movement, from the swirl of galaxies to the drifting of a leaf, follows the same law: expansion, balance, renewal. Nothing is static, nothing is lost. The pattern repeats across scales, too vast and too small for the mind to hold, yet it is always recognizable, the rhythm of existence breathing in and out. Time does not hurry. It bends, stretches and curves around gravity, carrying all things within it. To the universe, 1,000,000 years and a single heartbeat are variations of the same song. When we perceive time as rushing, it is only because our awareness is narrow. When we slow down, even for a moment, the world widens. The wind moves at its true pace. The light falls in its proper arc. The silence between seconds opens, revealing the steady pulse beneath it all. The ancients sensed this before they could name it. They built monuments aligned with solstices, tracked the movements of stars, and marked the rhythm of the seasons in stone. These were not acts of control but of reverence. To measure time was to listen to the cosmos, to honor its patience. They understood that everything, the harvest, the moon, the heartbeat, was part of one unbroken cycle. Modern instruments have refined those measurements, but the principle has not changed. We still live inside that same rhythm, though we often forget to feel it. When you slow your breathing, you rejoin it. The air moves in and out, the chest rises and falls, and the body becomes a small reflection of the universe itself, expanding and contracting in perfect proportion. You are not separate from time. You are one of its expressions. Every thought, every action, every moment of rest contributes to the pattern that has always existed. Even when life seems chaotic, the underlying rhythm remains untouched. Storms rage, mountains erode, stars explode, and yet the balance endures. New stars ignite where others fade. New life emerges from the soil of the old. The rhythm continues, unbroken and whole. There is a comfort in realizing that time is not an enemy to outpace, but a companion to walk with. It does not take from us, it moves through us. It shapes us gently, the way water shapes stone, not through force, but through persistence. Every wrinkle, every memory, every quiet night spent watching the stars is a sign of time doing its work with care. When we let go of the need to measure, the pressure to hurry dissolves. The seconds stretch into calm, and we begin to experience life not as a sequence of tasks, but as a single, flowing presence. The pulse of the world and the pulse within your wrist become one and the same. The stars above and the breath below belong to the same current. Time will continue long after we have moved beyond it, just as it existed long before we began. Yet every instant we experience is a perfect fragment of the whole, a small reflection of the eternal rhythm. To live in awareness of that rhythm is to live in peace, knowing that even as everything changes, the music remains. If you are resting now, the rhythm of your breath joins the rhythm of galaxies. The flow of your thoughts slows to match the turning of the earth. There is no rush to follow time, you are already within it. You are part of the same patient song that has played since the first light filled the void, and it will continue, soft and steady, even when you dream. There comes a moment, in every life and every world, when motion and meaning meet, when the constant turning of things feels less like noise and more like rhythm. It is then that understanding begins. We realize that the stillness we search for is not separate from movement but lives inside it, woven through every breath, every orbit, every thought. The universe does not pause to find peace. It finds peace through continuity, and when we learn to see as it does, we discover that calm has always been with us. Understanding is born from listening. The stars listen to gravity, and they hold their form. Oceans listen to the pull of the moon, and their tides obey. Our bodies listen to the subtle signals that keep heart and breath in harmony. To understand anything deeply, a person, a forest, a sky, we must quiet ourselves enough to hear its rhythm. Knowledge gathered in haste is information. Knowledge gathered in patience becomes wisdom. Throughout history, every civilization that looked up at the night sky found itself mirrored in its order. Ancient astronomers saw time written in light. Philosophers spoke of balance between opposites, rest and motion, birth and decay. Artists painted stillness inside movement, a wave mid-crest, a candle's flame unmoving yet alive. The same truth took countless forms, that serenity does not come from stopping the world, but from aligning with it. Our modern lives often pull us away from that rhythm. The noise of speed surrounds us, devices, deadlines, demands. Yet none of these alter the slow turning of the earth beneath our feet. The sunrise remains as patient as ever, the tides still follow their lunar clock, the galaxies still drift, unhurrying, across the deep. When we allow ourselves to match that pace, even for a moment, understanding returns. The unity between stillness and comprehension is felt most clearly in moments of quiet awe. Watching a snowflake settle, listening to wind through trees, hearing the hush after a storm, these are not trivial experiences. They are the senses aligning with the pattern of existence. The mind stops dividing time into before and after, fast and slow, success and failure. What remains is presence, pure and complete. In that presence, everything connects. The same laws that shape distant galaxies shape the rhythm of your breath. The same gravity that draws moons into orbit draws your body toward the earth. Every system, from the spiral of DNA to the spiral of the Milky Way, follows the same geometry of calm. Understanding this is not a matter of intellect but of belonging. Recognizing that we are not outside of the universe observing it, we are the universe, momentarily aware of itself. This realization does not demand that we stop moving. It asks only that we move with awareness. A star continues to burn while in balance. A river continues to flow while reflecting the sky. You can live, strive, and change, and still be at peace. Stillness is not inaction. It is harmony with what already is. And when we reach this kind of understanding, time itself seems to soften. The days expand, the hours breathe, and the noise of hurry fades into background hum. We no longer count moments, we inhabit them. The heart slows, but not from fatigue, from alignment. we see that every moment of awareness is an echo of the universe's first calm, the same quiet that existed before stars, before light, before form. So when the world feels too fast, remember this truth. There is no need to chase stillness. It is not ahead of you. It is within you, constant and unmoving, waiting to be recognized. Every breath, every blink, every heartbeat is proof that understanding and serenity already coexist. And perhaps that is what the universe has been saying all along, not through words but through its example, that peace is not a destination, but the condition of being real. From the first pulse of creation to the faint quiet that will one day fill the last corners of space, the universe has followed one simple principle. There is no hurry. Every atom, every star, every movement of time unfolds in balance, without urgency. The cosmos has never needed to race, because everything it contains already belongs to its rhythm. To exist, it only needs to continue. If we listen carefully, we can sense this calm woven into everything. The slow drift of continents, the steady turning of the earth, the soft pulse of a resting heart, all are echoes of that same cosmic patience. Even when the world feels fast and fleeting, beneath the noise there is always stillness, ancient and unbroken. The universe does not rush because rushing is the language of uncertainty, and there is nothing uncertain about its path. The galaxies that spin through the dark are not chasing anything. They move because motion is their nature. The stars do not compete to shine. They burn at their own pace, each giving what it can for as long as it can. Even the smallest creatures, unaware of cosmic scales, follow the same unspoken law, the rhythm of breath and rest, of action followed by renewal. Life and matter, energy and time, all obey the same patient cycle. To rush is to forget that you are part of something that cannot be late. The unfolding of existence has no deadlines. You are where you are meant to be, precisely when you are meant to be there. The seconds that pass are not slipping away. They are carrying you forward through the same current that moves galaxies and seasons alike. Every heartbeat is a reminder that time does not run, it flows. When we slow our thoughts, the mind begins to match the pace of the world that sustains it. The air moves differently, the light feels softer, and the moments between breaths grow wider. What once felt small begins to feel infinite. This is not illusion, it is recognition. You are synchronizing with the true rhythm of the universe, the one that has guided the stars, the tides, and every life since the beginning. The universe doesn't rush because it understands what we are still learning, that meaning is not found in reaching the end, but in moving through the journey itself. It knows that every pause, every delay, every slow unfolding is necessary. It creates not through haste, but through grace. Everything that exists, from a galaxy to a blade of grass, is a product of patience. So if you find yourself resting now, drifting between thought and silence, you are exactly where the universe would want you to be. In this moment, there is nothing to fix, nothing to pursue, nothing to fear. The same energy that holds the stars holds you, gently, as part of its design. You are made of ancient light, carried through time by endless calm. Let that awareness settle in your body. Feel the weight of it ease from your shoulders, the breath deepen in your chest. The pulse in your wrist keeps perfect time with the slow turning of the world beneath you. There is no separation between your rest and the universe's rest. The same patience that shapes galaxies is shaping you now, quietly, tenderly. When sleep comes, let it come like starlight crossing the void, unhurried, certain, and full of peace. Let the mind fade into the same soft rhythm that has carried creation forward since the beginning. You are not falling away from the world. You are returning to it, becoming part of the same balance that keeps everything in motion without haste. And as night deepens, remember that the reason the universe doesn't rush is simple. It never needed to. It has always had enough time, and so do you. We, from Sleepy Stories, wish you a good night.